Welcome to another episode of a Pneuma Conversation, a raw, authentic, and unfiltered conversation with spiritual teachers, leaders, coaches, healers, and seekers. Get to know who we truly are beyond the polished world of interviews, social media, and podcasts. We're not perfect, and we struggle too. Join us as we share our lives, our challenges, and have meaningful discussions on healing, transformation, and the future of humanity. Today, I'm in conversation with my very good friends, Sam and Paula Guarnaccia. Folks, Sam and Paula, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us, Chad.
Yeah, I already screwed up your last name, even though I got it perfect before we started.
Okay.
Oh well. Oh well. I'm throwing up my hands again. It's interfering with technology. I got to stop that. So, all right. Well, we met at a retreat a couple years ago, centered around Teilhard, and it's a beautiful story because I thought it was something else, and turned out it was not. But I ended up staying at the retreat, and this beautiful relationship has developed. And wanted to hear all of you share that a little bit because you usually get me to tell the story, and I'd love to hear your side of the story. What it meant to all of you, what was going on for you as you were watching me and getting to know each other and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I usually make me tell the story, so I want you to tell the story this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was the American Teilhard Association annual retreat, and we had a speaker, John Philip Newell, and I'm on the board of the Teilhard Association, so I was one of the planners, and Sam is on the advisory board. So trying to meet new people as they come in, and
Right.
met Chad, and quickly discovered that he thought that it was a conference about Celtic spirituality and John Philip Newell, whereas it is John Philip Newell speaking about Teilhard de Chardin.
Right.
So, there was sort of this moment where I thought, oh dear, he's going to be disappointed.
Mm,
And and I sort of hoped you would stay, and you
yeah.
did. And gradually you sort of entered into our Teilhard community. And of course, we love John Philip Newell. He's a friend,
Yes.
and you love him too. But they're
Yep.
so connected, and I think you began to realize that, and you've since stayed with the Teilhard Association. You were there at the last retreat as well. So
I
Yeah.
think I think I should mention too that John
Yeah.
Philip was there on Zoom. He was zooming in
Yeah.
from Ireland, and so anyway,
Yeah.
we were worried that it might be a big disappointment for you, but you very quickly sort of felt the spirit there,
Yes.
and yeah, so that was
yeah.
wonderful. It was really wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am so glad I stayed, and not just got to be friends with all of you, but so many other people have come in my life, and you're all part of the reason that kind of this has all happened too. So it's a beautiful thing, and I hope maybe one day I get to not only meet John Philip Newell, but if he'd be on the podcast, that would be incredible. Oh my
Oh,
gosh,
yeah.
I just thought of it. So who knows down the road, you
Yes.
know.
Yes. Yes. And he and his wife have just moved to Findhorn, Chad, and
Northern
in
Scotland,
Yes.
yeah.
northern Scotland, and
Yep.
they
Yep.
keep inviting us to come and see them. And so I'm sure that that could happen sometime. Get him on your podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be amazing.
Unstable.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
getting. I think
Yeah.
we're okay though. The tech.
Yeah, we're okay. Yeah,
Mm.
we got a little bit of glitches going on, but it seems to be moving okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So, all right. So tell me about Sam and Paula. Who's this wonderful couple that I'm getting to know these last couple of years?
Well, we're still getting to know ourselves too.
Beautiful.
It's yeah, it's wow. Well, I grew up in a my father's Sicilian and my mother's comes from an Irish background. They met at Middlebury College in 1940 and got married later in that year. They met in the summer, got married later that year, and I grew up with around the summer school of a college that has summer programs that have where there are probably 10 or a dozen or so languages being spoken for those 6 weeks of the summer. And it was just an intensely diverse, uh, also growing up in Middlebury, which is really in those days, in the 40s, a farm town in a way with a college in it. The college
Mm,
wasn't as integrated into the community as it is now. And
okay.
there's a big population of people who moved to Middlebury, to retire because it's a beautiful town. It's full of intellectual and artistic events and opportunities. But when I was growing up, it was all my classmates were kids from farms, and you could smell the farms, and
Yeah.
and and my father was a professor at the college, so that along with my very difficult to pronounce last name in in very conservative Vermont at the time. Vermont was in those days very, very conservative. It's
Yeah.
now very progressive. It's
Okay.
a very different state now than it was then.
Are
And
you by just out of curiosity, are you first generation American
oh,
Italian?
no, my father was
Okay.
born in the United States, but his older siblings were born in Sicily.
Okay. Got it.
So yeah, yeah. So I'm second generation, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so I just loved my parents were wonderful, very very liberal and a very well, how do I explain it? I guess I grew up with this sense of that there were kind of two worlds,
Mm,
as there are now in our culture. There's a world of people have been exposed widely to lots of different cultures, and then there's a world of people who are very much wanting to protect and a little bit fearful of the unknown and the strange and the foreign and that sort of thing.
yeah.
So that has been kind of a theme in
Hmm.
a way, and actually in both of our lives. But I'm trying to think of what else I could say. I was attracted to music from an early age, but I never really had a chance to give it my whole heart until after meeting Paula.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's not exactly true. You had
Okay.
a career as a classical
Well, I had a
guitarist.
career as a classical guitarist, but I also had a hand injury that ended that career, and
Okay.
and so
You found a new career. Yeah.
finding my way forward, and also a very deep interest in science. So the
Hmm.
collision now of science and spirituality becoming really the same conversation. The finest
Hmm.
scientists and the most mature and evolved people spiritually are very, very close in their understanding, in their worldview, I should say,
Okay.
of the just the enormous magnificence of creativity of the world around us,
Yeah.
and
And we'll get to that in a minute because I want to talk about that because that's beautiful.
but
So
Paul, you should give
yeah,
a thumbnail of
Yeah.
your.
yeah, Paula, your turn.
Well, it couldn't be more different than Sam. I grew up in Alaska.
Oh, wow.
and Anchorage. My father was in the Air Force, and so I was born on that very base where Putin and Trump met yesterday
Okay.
last
All
week.
right. Yeah.
And
in the concert.
and I was born, as I always say, with a wooden spoon in my mouth, because I was born in a Quonset hut. They didn't even have a hospital in 1952, and
Oh no.
so they had this makeshift thing with the anyway. So that's where I was born, and my father had loved Alaska when he was transferred there. He fell in love with Alaska. He was a hunter and a fisherman, and he just retired there. And so he spent the rest of his life in Alaska and didn't die till he was 93. And so anyway, I grew up with a family that fished a lot. We had it was a real camping family. And just, the whole Alaskan experience, as my father said, he did it all. My mother was a devout Catholic. My father was not, definitely not, but she was, and she was a daily mass person. And so I grew
Okay.
up with a lot of Catholicism, went briefly to Catholic school. There wasn't really a Catholic school in Anchorage at that point. They had 3 grades, so I went those 3 grades. But then when, this was the 60s, the late 60s, things were happening, and I was happening with them. And
Okay.
so when I was turned 19, my birthday present to myself was to go to a meditation training for transcendental meditation. That really changed my life. I went to 2 courses with Maharishi in Spain and in California,
Yeah.
became a TM teacher, taught TM for a while, and was a bit nomadic. I ended up coming to Vermont for a meditation retreat with a bunch of TM meditators, transcendental meditation, and I fell in love with Vermont. I loved the pastoral beauty of, this is 1973, and I never left. I wasn't
Yeah.
planning on staying when I arrived, but that was the way life unfolded. And
Yeah.
so I lived in Vermont until 4 years ago, when Sam and I decided to move to rural Maine for a variety of reasons. But so yeah, so I raised 2 boys, and I was a single parent for a long time. I had a career in healthcare and academia. I was anyway, that's how I met Sam.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
was
and the other connection we all have is that all 3 of us have lived in Spain, not at the same time, but
Right.
through the course of our lives, we've all lived in Spain for a short amount of time. So I think that's an interesting
Yeah, I was
connection
there for
as
a
well.
couple of months in
Okay.
southern Spain at this course
You're right.
with Rishi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
which was, it really took me away from Catholicism. I tried to go back, but I just never fully made it back. And then I
Yeah.
met Sam, and we went on another trip together. So we've been married
Nice.
25 years. Yeah.
Nice. So let's fast forward to when all of you met, because it's not been that long, correct?
Well,
25 years. Well, we
So,
met
oh,
26 years
you,
ago.
you met 20. Okay. Okay. But
but you're right, Chad. It isn't that long compared to the age of of the earth or the
Or
emergence of
ages.
life.
sure.
Or yeah, we were in our 40s and 50s when we met, so
Okay.
and a blended family. So we have 5 children between us and 8 grandchildren, or really 7 now because of an impending rupture with one of the
Oh my.
of the families
Of the marriages,
of the
yeah.
marriages,
Yeah.
but it's very complicated and a great deal of fun because it we're living proof of the need to constantly evolve and redefine what the family is. So when we're old enough to have grown up when the family was absolutely a male breadwinner with a female person taking care of the house and cooking and basically mostly in charge of parenting and yeah, so and now, I taught Spanish for a while at the University of Vermont and Middlebury College, and it was amazing. I had probably any given semester anywhere between 70 and 100 students in different classes. And one of the things when you're teaching a language is that you in order to speak with someone who's just beginning to learn a language, what do you talk about? Well, you talk about your family. You talk about your parents, where you live, brother and sister, the vocabulary for everyday conversation exposes the family as a theme, as a topic. So you immediately realize that 99% of your students are not in a traditional family.
Mm.
They're
Wow.
remarriages, blended families of all different sorts, and very rarely someone who still have their same parents and
Yeah.
don't have to learn the words in Spanish for stepbrother and stepmother and
Boy.
half sister, and that sort of thing.
So would you say, and it's probably happening more now than it was in the past, but it was still happening in the past, but families being redefined.
Oh yeah,
What
yeah,
we know of family is changing.
yeah,
And so go into a little bit more of that if you could.
So, we have these 5 kids and
Yeah,
they love us, of course. I know they
sure.
do, and they spend time with us sometimes. They have they're busy lives. One's a doctor, it's just endless. Um, and they've got children and they don't all live around us. So we don't see them a lot, but we see them. But they're not super interested in what we're doing.
Okay.
That's sort of our thing in a way. So in order to find our our heart people that really get what we're doing, we have to expand
Yeah.
our reach a lot. And we've done that a lot because it's very important to have connections with people that,
Mm.
you can reach out to the world, but maybe there's a handful of people that really get what you're doing, or maybe
Yeah.
a small group. So that's partly what we try and do. I mean, we share with our kids, but nobody's on exactly the same path.
Sure. And I don't know that we all are as a whole, and that's
yeah.
the reason for the conversation like this is
Yes,
we all have similarities, but we also have differences. And instead of pointing out our differences, let's embrace our differences and love our differences and then find out what we have in common. Because as soon as we let down our guards, as soon as we let down all the judgments, there's room for love.
Mhm.
yeah.
And I have a feeling you're experiencing that and so go ahead, talk about that more.
Well, wow. Yeah, I
You
have
can go anywhere with it.
yeah. So, well, let me introduce someone who's very important to both of us now, but me in particular because I've spent more time with him. There's
Mhm.
a very great scientist named Stuart Kaufman,
Okay.
who is he lives in the Pacific Northwest and in Santa Fe at different times of the year. And he helped to co-found the Santa Fe Institute. So, and he's in his mid 80s. And he is, considered, I think, by many to be the most senior advanced thinker in complexity theory, complexity and systems. He's a physicist. He's also a doctor, a medical doctor, but he's just a brilliant polymath, someone who is really good at a lot of things. And he's written many books. And uh, so the and he has gotten to the point. This is someone who understands the equations that Einstein wrote and that Dirac and all of the, he can look at those equations and just, have an experience, have an ecstatic experience of understanding something that is only understandable to us and as it can get expressed in poetry or some kind of metaphorical language. So the way the universe works and the way life works, constantly reaching for more, for finding new relationships at every moment, every single moment, and every instant of the 14 billion years that have brought us to where we are right now is absolutely necessary for this moment, this conversation that we're having right now.
And you know, the thing when we met over poetry. We met at a poetry reading. And ever since we were married or were together on a regular basis, we've read together. We've read dozens and dozens of books. We've read a lot of poetry together. And from that, it's sort of amazing. We'll read a book like Stuart Kaufman, and then somehow or other we meet Stuart Kaufman. So if I look at the pile of books on our desk right now, we probably know a large percentage of the authors. And I don't know quite who's unstable.
We're unstable at the moment. Okay, let me just wrap up what I was going to say, and then please. So all that preamble about Stuart Kaufman and his scientific brilliance and so forth, and understanding of so many things. Just a few weeks ago said, first of all, that music is the path to help us to become the loving,
absolutely,
the loving civilization that we must move toward, and we need to fall in love with each other. And so, I mean, he is using that simple, beautiful, understanding that that's what it's all about. So
he's not the only one doing that, by the way.
I know.
There's someone else that I follow. His name is Robert Edward Grant, another genius. He's a polymath. He's written several books and talking about music and how the connection between relationships and tone and breath, it's all related.
Right.
And that is what needs to bring us together. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying that we had met over poetry. We met at a David White poetry reading. He's a wonderful poet, deeply spiritual. And then from the time we were living together, we've read tons of books together and lots of poetry. And so we have this body of shared understanding and inside that's sort of collected there, and so we can pull that out. But also something about those kinds of connections, we've met so many of the authors that we've read. It's really astounding. People like Stuart Kaufman and Jude Curven and Ursula Goodenough, and the list kind of goes on and on. And so that has helped us to really anchor us and informs the work that we do, like writing the libretto for the oratorio that Sam wrote the music for. That it pulls in all of that understanding that we've developed. I mean, and we continue. I read a lot about nature separately. Like I'm reading a book about turtles right now. Very interesting. Turtles are very interesting.
Yeah.
And we live in the woods, so we're surrounded by on a lake. We're surrounded by the natural world every day, all the time. That's partly why we moved here, and it helps to clear the head. Living here, I mean, it's a very settling, meditative thing to live here. You just walk outside and you're listening to the trees talk. It's very beautiful, and very different than living in Middlebury, Vermont. Where, there's college students running up and down the road hollering at all hours of the day and night. So anyway, that's so I think that helps us. And John, with a person that we haven't mentioned yet, but is so important
Yeah.
to our work, is Thomas Berry,
Okay.
who followed from Teilhard to Chardin. I think of Teilhard as sort of the laying the groundwork for all of these incredible people who have come after him, such as Thomas Berry. I mean, there's nobody quite as remarkable as Thomas Berry.
Yeah. You'll have to give me these notes or these names in a list later so I can put them in the tags. There's a lot of names, but it's so science and nature
Yes.
have really impacted not just your blended family. And you can talk about more if you want to who you acknowledge as your blended family, but also it's really impacted your spiritual journey and how you live your lives and how you connect with source. And so if you could share about all that too, please, because it's such a beautiful piece. And science has been a struggle all of my life, but I'm really becoming more open to it and understanding where I can and focus on where I understand it. And so I'm meeting and hear not just all of you, but I'm meeting and hearing about how spirit and spirituality and science is coming together. There is a marriage, there is a relationship that we have forgotten. And so if you could, talk about that too, that would be great.
Well, I think our first spiritual real connection, because we came from different traditions,
Yeah,
different Christian traditions,
sure.
was John Philip Newell. I mean, I read a book.
Yeah.
I read his Listening to the Heartbeat of God, and said, we gotta meet this guy.
Right.
That was back in 2004 or so, and over 20 years ago. And we went to a retreat where he was, got to know him, brought him to Vermont a couple of times. He gave a retreat in both of those times, and connected with Sam. They wrote music and the Celtic Mass for Peace together. Anyway, that Celtic spirituality, Celtic Christian and later Earth spirituality, really, really just anchored us, both of us. And that was sort of the beginning thread that got pulled forward.
Nice.
Right. And Chad, wow. I mean, the question that you asked, but that is in the space between us and
Yes.
embracing us, that question of spirituality. I mean, and just the fact that we're calling this a conversation. So we're trying to use words to express realities, understandings, even the word spirituality, not to mention the ancient language around the word God, which is a very difficult word for many people now, for an increasing number of people. Some very great scientists I know of. One of them said just yesterday in an interview that what is so hard for him is that when that question gets asked, do you believe in God? Well, the language, there is so much antagonism that can arise from so much misunderstanding. How do I say something deep and meaningful to someone who when they ask the question, do you believe in God? They're asking the question, do you believe in what I believe in? And I'm not even sure what I believe in.
Right.
Because that word has such a huge history and so many tentacles out and in so many ways. So I just want to honor our collective desire to have our understanding be really, really flexible, resilient, tolerant of the possibility of the certain, well, if anything is certain, is that we will not be able to express perfectly anything about a topic or a the essence of life and meaning that is going to be clear and totally, and you can check it off your list and then go on with your life. You know, it's a constantly, so I would, and so these things are just going to keep cascading out of my mouth here. So Philip Newell is an example. He has, in the time that we've known him, which is over 20 years, he has evolved tremendously
Mm.
as spiritually.
Yeah.
One of the things that he told us last year was that, and it wasn't really surprising, is that he gave up his ordination. He's
Yep.
no longer an ordained minister because of the misunderstanding that being, attached to an institution that is so that has so many problems with it, and has created so much, from the Inquisition and the conquest of the New World and all of that kind of thing. So
One of the
it's
things
very complicated. Yeah.
that's helped
Yeah.
me in this, because I'm in the same place, I try not to use the word God, actually, because it's so complicated and it assumes I know what I'm talking about. Is the non-theistic religions, reading Taoism, reading a little, I'm reading now about Confucianism. Just not that I've become a Taoist or a Confucian
Right.
Buddhist, but that you can pull from those traditions. I mean, I just read a book by a Jewish psychologist, and she goes back to the Old Testament and reframes a bunch of the stories. And, I was like, I really like this. Maybe I'm Jewish, but I'm not.
Right.
I can find something because as Matthew Fox says, the great river of being, there are many wells down into that. And, it's not that any well is wrong. It's just not the only one.
Yes.
We're all tapping the same root.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam, I love what you said, and it's a part of what I'm doing is we're talking about the tone underneath what we're all talking about. There is a whole other tone and breath taking place.
Yeah.
That we need to connect to. The three of us connect with that. But this is the very first time we are putting voice to it.
Yes.
But this is my work. This is the Pneuma.
Yes, exactly.
This is the Pneuma doing its thing. When we are willing to get underneath of what is being said, of what is being heard, and listen to those tones. And when we first meet someone, we need to stop finding out what our commonalities are and just listen to each other so that we can get to the commonalities, get to the things that are alike. Because there's a whole thing underneath that wants to take place to help us remind us and help us remember what our true connection is.
I
Go,
was
go ahead.
No, this is just making, these metaphors or things just pop up. For several years, I was on a ski patrol, and to be on a ski patrol, you have to have some emergency skills, some life-saving skills.
Yeah.
And so, first responders learn from the very beginning of their training, ABC. Airway, breathing, and circulation.
Yes.
When you find somebody who's injured, the very first thing you find out is, can they breathe?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is the airway open? And if not, you do whatever you have to do to get that airway open. A, B, breathing. Can they then breathe? And is circulation compromised? Are they bleeding? Is your blood, are you losing blood? And boy, so when I was teaching, I would occasionally, when people would, when I would sense that students were getting sort of assuming a lot about their life, um, all of us are somewhat are privileged. I mean, we are very privileged. We're not wealthy, but we're very privileged in terms of education and opportunity and that sort of thing. Um, and students, when you're 19 or 20 in college, you think you got the world by the tail.
Yeah, yeah.
So I used to love to say, I want you all to hold your breath. Hold your breath. I mean it. And I'd make them hold their breath. And after about 30 seconds, you realize that's how close you are to dying,
Mm,
is not being able to breathe for a couple of minutes. It doesn't take long. And boy, is that a sobering experience to
yeah,
realize that really at any moment, if you can't breathe, that's so the breath is really powerful
it is.
in terms of self-awareness and other awareness.
If you heard the concert that happened on July 18th that was streamed, did you hear that when we were relating the story of the universe, instead of the Big Bang, we used the big breath?
Oh yeah, I loved that. Oh, it
Yes,
was
and that's from
beautiful.
the
Yeah,
scientist,
Perfect.
the cosmologist Jude Currivan uses
Okay.
big
the big
breath.
breath. We got that from her. Yes. Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's a big breath.
We'll introduce you to Jude Kerr. We Zoom with her from time to time. She's extremely busy.
Lives in
Okay.
England.
She lives in England near Oxford, and she's all over the world and being asked to give talks and everywhere. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
thank goodness for Zoom because you know
Yeah.
you don't have to travel all the time. You can do a lot
Right.
the way we're doing this now. But no, it's
Yeah, that would be if I could meet her, that would be awesome. Oh my gosh.
you will love Jude.
Wow. Wow.
She's very special, and we had a chance to get her together with Stuart Kaufman, and that
Okay.
was really interesting.
I'm sure. I'm
And
sure.
I actually
Didn't
have
understand half of it, but hey.
and I have the recordings of those meetings, so you
Yeah.
could experience that. It would be
Okay.
actually that would be great. I can send you the link to that recording
Yeah,
of
please.
that.
Please.
Yeah,
I would love to meet both of them. Oh man. I think they would accompany what I'm doing here so well. And if
absolutely.
they're open to being on the show too, that would, even if I just get to talk to them, that would enrich me and help me so much more with what I'm doing. But the bonus would be to have them on the show. But this
Yeah.
is happening. People are talking about this. It is the breath. It's the very first thing that happens when we come out of our mother's womb, and it's the very last thing that happens when the
Right.
body gives out.
That's right.
And we are not focusing on it. And we're bringing more attention to it. And also, with the people that I work with when they're going through trauma, I always remind them, breathe. Even though they may not be experiencing physical trauma, there's emotional trauma, which is translating into physical trauma. But again, I'm listening to how they breathe when they're telling me their story. And if they're not breathing, that's a big indicator.
Yeah.
There's a disconnect.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We have to breathe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have to breathe.
We
We
have
have to have a relationship with our breath because this is the very thing that created, the
well,
very thing that brought existence to be.
and there's an absolutely beautiful fact that scientific fact, if you will, that is is incredibly inspiring, and that is uh, there's one of the elements, argon, does not combine with anything.
Okay.
And so this Canadian scientist, whose name isn't coming to me at the moment, this wonderful, wonderful scientist from Canada. Um,
Can't remember his name either.
I can't remember his name, but so what was I starting to talk
So
about?
what he said was, because this element doesn't combine with anything. That means it's floating out there
Okay.
free, and it's not.
Oh,
So every breath that we take has probably been breathed by every other living person, and it has
Absolutely.
argon in it.
yeah.
So we're breathing what he says is what Jesus Christ and Einstein and all these people breathed before us. So we're all connected through breath.
Yes.
And the children who are dying in Gaza and,
Yeah.
and so forth. Yeah, we are so connected that way. And the reason argon is interesting is because it's from the scientific point of view, you can measure it easily because it's easily identifiable. It's not combined with anything else. So it's retains its elemental identity. So you can actually measure this, and it spreads all over the earth. Within a year, a newborn is also breathing. I mean, that newborn's breath is now mixed with, globally with all
Yes.
the rest of it. So, and their atoms are so tiny that they're just they're just everywhere, and and I don't know, just knowing those kinds of things and being aware of how spectacular reality is.
Yeah.
It's so much more and better than anything that we
Yes.
can say about it.
And knowing these things reframes the way you see the world.
Yeah.
So that's why they're important.
Yeah.
They maybe they're just ideas, but once they're in there, you can't unthink them.
Yes.
So they start to inform the way you see the world.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
He's near the end here. I don't know. Are we getting near the end, Chad?
Yep. We're getting close to the end. We're okay.
okay. Okay.
But
Um,
this is perfect. It's beautiful. There are so many places we could go from here and have a whole other conversation about the breath,
oh,
and which we probably need to do. And so I think there'll be a part 2 to this episode.
okay.
But we'll talk about that. But yes, the breath, and more people are remembering. And I do say remembering. I believe there is something humanity has forgotten, who and what we are and
Yeah.
where we come from. And that's what we
Yes.
need to be talking about.
Yes.
And yes, religion helps us in getting us there, defining that for us, but it always doesn't do it correctly. And we're all having all of us are having experiences that are separate from what religion can even define.
Yeah.
And
Right.
instead of embracing that, religion has taught us to condemn it.
Mm.
And the breath is reawakening. The breath is finding its voice again.
That's right.
And I think that the Inquisition and all the things that were happening back during that time was not about witches. I think it was about getting rid of the people that remembered the breath and then remembered how to use it.
It's about control.
Yeah.
About control.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because breath is about creation.
Yeah.
Breath can do many, many things if we allow it to do it. And so I think there was something going on back in Europe, and that we have forgotten, that history has purposely left out. But that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, the breath is reawakening. The breath is finding its voice through conversations like this and through people remembering. It's not
Right.
an awakening, it's a remembering.
Right. Right.
So
The I could mention something else too.
please.
The but this might have very great meaning for some people. The recovery from addiction, and we're all addicts.
Yes.
All of us are
Yep.
addicts. Not necessarily drugs, alcohol, or any other substances,
Yes.
but we're certainly addicted to certainty. For example, that's anyway, but what there's an extraordinary success story in the recovery from addiction of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Mhm.
It's certainly not 100%. Whatever the percentage is, it doesn't matter. But what makes it work, what makes it the only system that actually works is the realization that it is like breathing. It's a matter of life and death. So this conversation we're having and the work that we're doing is a matter of life and death. And when if people are able to get there, through the breath, through however you mean that,
Mhm.
but just realizing that I mean my life depends upon you. I am you. I am the universe.
Yes.
I am the trees and the lakes and the rivers and the oxygen that we breathe and so forth. That we can't we cannot survive without each other.
Yeah.
And but really we can't. We all breathe this same air and we're not getting off this spaceship, you know? I mean, and you can metaphorically take that spiritually if you want to, and
Yes.
extend it out to the edge of the universe and down to the cork. But but you know what? When you get it in here, you cannot look at another person. You can't hate. You can't
Yes.
fight. You can struggle for what's right, but can't you can't do the things, you can't be violent towards somebody because that's you.
Mm,
So
Absolutely.
anyway,
yeah.
it's so lovely.
It's so true. So true. Oh my.
Mhm.
We will definitely have a part two down the road. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. And we'll pick up from the breath. But uh, Sam and Paula, you mean the world to me. You've become my family,
Mhm.
and I feel you in my heart. I feel you in the breath, and it's so important. And so there are two things I want to end with, and the first one is a question, and if you know how you feel comfortable answering is totally up to you. What is your biggest struggle as a couple?
Ooh, wow, that is a surprise question. Go ahead, honey.
Well, we live together, 24/7. We're hardly ever apart, really. And when we are apart, our kids laugh because we call each other all the time. My son said,
Nice.
I couldn't talk to my wife as much as you talk to Sam.
Beautiful.
And I said, well, we're making up for lost time. We didn't
That's
meet
right.
because they got married when they were 29 and 26, and we
Yeah,
got
yeah.
married later. So anyway, yeah, we have our differences. I'm more sort of practical, and I have a highly developed executive function, if you know what
Okay.
that means.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can I can hold a lot of pieces and organize things. That was the work I did actually in my career. I
Hmm.
was an administrator. And Sam is the creative force. I mean, he sees and feels things deeply, and it
Yeah.
manifests itself in this fabulous music. But I'm in the background. We'd have this, as I said, this intellectual body of an experiential body of shared
Mm.
work, and that informs everything, I think. And we just get along. I don't know. We don't, doesn't mean we don't ever argue. I mean, I think if we didn't argue,
Sure.
I'd be worried about us because I don't think that's natural. But, we have our moments, but they aren't really all that frequent. Um,
It's a great question though, and it's important. I don't think we struggle. But
Okay.
it's still I'm honoring the question though. Um
I give him a to-do list a lot.
Okay.
Yes, a honeydew list, you know.
Exactly.
I add to my
Absolutely.
other lists.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course.
Here's one.
Here's what they're good. There you go.
Oh boy.
But increasingly, we seem to see things like how to handle the garden.
Hmm.
And it started off, we were kind of at odds, but now we sort of see it the same. We have an
Okay.
garden and we have vegetables and flowers and also, how we plan trips and, we seem to become more aligned over
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Well, I would think the challenge around our children
Yeah.
has been
Okay.
a
Yeah.
tough one. And, when we got married, we had some counseling beforehand because the guy who married us wanted to get together and talk. And we did this test and he said, you're the two of the most compatible people I've ever talked to. But your one area is in how you raise children. And our kids were raised very differently.
Yeah.
And so
Sure.
that's been, I'm not the mother they anticipated. And certainly Sam is very different than their birth father. I think they love us, but we're very
Yeah.
different than the way they saw mother and father. So,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably been our biggest challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has. It's Paula is much better than I am at saying no
Okay.
in various ways. And also, honestly expressing our something not negative, but disciplining. I'm a classic softie, with the dog, with the children.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me yeah, to say no.
Whereas the single parent of two boys,
Yeah. Yeah.
you had to be a little bit, strong.
But she got it from her parents too, though.
They were strong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And my
Yeah.
parents were very strong but in very different, yeah. Such different childhoods.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Really, really different childhoods.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you all know how much I love the breath, and we started talking. We were talking about it, and I'd like to end in the breath together, if that's
Oh,
okay. And
lovely.
it's
Yeah.
I also call it. I think you've heard me say this recently, but when we are in the breath, we are in sacredness.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is sacred, and just the act of breathing is a sacred and spiritual experience, and that's something we don't need to chase
Mm.
Beautiful.
because it's already here.
Beautiful.
So if you could join me in the breath for a few minutes in silence, and I may or may not say anything, I'm not quite sure, but I will definitely bring us back so you know that we've come to an end. But
Okay.
yeah, if we could just take a moment with the audience and together in the sacred moment of the breath.
And I'll have a little gift for you at the end too.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. We are grateful for this opportunity to breathe together as humanity so that we remember who and what we are and where we come from. And as we all open our eyes and come back to center, we bring the breath and we bring the stillness with us in every moment of our lives. Sam, Paula, thank you. What
Thank
beautiful,
you.
beautiful
And
conversation.
and here's the little present for you.
Reinventing the sacred. Oh,
See
I
the
need to get a
author?
hold of that book. Yep, yep.
Stuart Kaufman. This is an amazing book.
I will get that book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Beautiful. Sam and Paula, thank you so much for being part of the conversation. Thank you
Sam.
for being in my lives. And yeah, this is beautiful. Beautiful. So
thank you for your courage and taking the risk in having such a conversation.
and all of you, thank you for joining us again, and we will see you in the next episode.